for taking time and wanting to come on here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, this was like honestly like as soon as I heard and watched the Emo Kids Anonymous, because Rob has been like gassing you up forever. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this band because normally I'm that person of I need some time, like let me do it on my own. I don't want to like everybody tell me
Right.
to listen. And I sat down and I was like, all right, this is really good. And I'm really glad that you were like down all our like throats about this, like listen to this band. Um, because it's just it's so good. And it took that reel of you, oh, was it Brooklyn Vegan? I'm trying to think who it was. And
I
you were talking
think,
about your screamo bands. Um,
right.
and I was like, okay, wait, he knows Seisha and Orchid and all that. Like me being in my like late 30s, I was like, somebody else is talking about this. Okay, all right, this is perfect. How do I do this? And that's when Rob's like, you should like send a DM, just get it going. So yeah, so this is
Yeah.
awesome.
No, happy to do it. Rob's awesome. And yeah, I feel very much the same way about screamo music. If anybody is interested at all, I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, like let's go. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I do intros, outros, all that stuff later. So it's just us chatting. But the first question we always do to get everybody into the conversation is kind of bringing it back to an early memory for you of falling in love with music, whether it was a time, a place, a record. Was there a moment that you were like, okay, I'm in love with music and what this does for me?
Yeah, this is a funny one that I don't think I've ever talked about before. But like the first music that I was truly in love with, because my dad's a big music guy. He didn't really play music, but he loved music. Um, and when I was probably like 4 or 5 years old, maybe, he showed me this like I don't even know the name of it now, but Kiss did a movie where they were like superheroes at a theme park. I can't remember. And
Yeah.
I loved the movie. He was watching it as a joke, but I was like, this is awesome. And he was like, they're a real band. And from that point forward, for a few years, I was hugely into Kiss. And I would like dress up like Gene Simmons and like pretend to play music. And yeah, I've always loved music. I had a natural inclination to it. But that was like the first thing that I would say I was like had an obsession with, where I was like, I'm all about this.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And too many people don't bring up Kiss because maybe they'll be like, oh, someone will think this. But I had somebody, it was like a while, I think last year, they brought up Kiss. And immediately, too, some people in the comments were like, oh, Kiss isn't a real band. I'm like,
Yeah.
listen, you know what? At the end of the day, like Gene Simmons, like that, like it's iconic. Like this is an iconic
Yeah,
band image. Like, you put that up there, and even people that aren't into music are like, that's Kiss. They know it.
exactly. Yeah, and talking about someone who is like coming out of Power Rangers, probably not even coming out of Power Rangers, like still very much into them.
Yeah.
Um, it was like a pretty obvious gateway for like a young kid, to get just like care about music in an intense way that I cared about other kid things at the time.
Yeah, and like if you didn't start there, again, who knows where you'd be now? I feel like those
Right.
certain bands that you find like my parents finding Nirvana and like Smashing Pumpkins in their collection. I was like, what is this? Had I not find that, I don't know, like not to dig on boy bands, but maybe I would have went that path or something. And there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
who
with that, but
knows?
it's like those little moments like bring so much, just lead you on that path. So I love that you brought up Kiss. Like, come on, justice for Kiss here, all
Yeah.
right? We got justice.
Yeah.
Um,
That
and
was
then
like
that,
my earliest like being really into a band. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, and I would never have guessed that. Here, I'm like, what is he gonna say? Like, I always trying to think, like, who, what is everyone gonna say, like, when they come in here? And I would have
Right.
never even thought that. So that's amazing. And then, like, even to talk about,
Yeah.
like, music scenes is another thing. Like, it's so important. Like, I'm here in Jersey, and there's such a history in New Jersey scene, and originally from Chicago and that scene. But I think
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
people think like Chicago or they think New York, the LA's. Kind of take us to Asheville and like what's going on over there.
So in Asheville, pretty small place, and it's a bit on the expensive side, and obviously like young people drive a music scene.
Yeah.
Um, and I wouldn't say it's like the friendliest city to people maybe in their early 20s. So in terms of like a thriving music scene, there isn't much of
Hmm.
one on a DIY level. There are of course bands here doing cool stuff. Um, but not as much as I would like. Like I love living here,
Hmm.
but that's my only gripe about it. Really, is that I wish that there was a more diverse and kind of thriving music scene. I know it was like that prior to COVID,
Hmm.
but I moved here like right on the front end of COVID, so I missed that part kind of.
Yeah, and I think too, a lot of scenes probably have changed from and after COVID. I mean, even here, I know when I moved here, it was like before COVID, but I could just tell the shift even here in New Jersey of now people getting back into shows. And then, of course, when everything opened back up, even for your local scenes, okay, the venues are stocked with these bigger bands and then getting in. And I obviously like I don't play music, but I love it. So I'm like, all right, what's going on here? I moved here. I'm so excited about this scene, but
Right.
like it's got to build back up again to be what it was.
And all scenes kind of do that. They ebb and flow. And
Yeah.
I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and I wouldn't have traded living there for anywhere else at the time that I did. Um, I would not want to live there now, but
Hmm.
from the like 2008 to 2014, there was a really good like hardcore scene and everything kind of adjacent to that. And simultaneously, there was this really big garage rock thing happening with bands like Jeff the Brotherhood and Diarrhea Planet and stuff like that. And so, like, growing up there, it was awesome. I was going to shows all the time, riding my bike around the city, like seeing all these different bands of all different types of bands. Like
Yeah.
I would go to some like harsh noise show one night and then go to like a pop punk show the next night and a garage rock show the night after that and just like it was awesome. It was an awesome place to grow up at the time I did, but I think even now like that scene's starting to kind of rebuild in a new way after a little funk of um, less stuff going on, probably brought on by COVID. But
Hmm.
even by the time I was like 20 or so, a lot of the people that were kind of driving that scene moved away or don't play
Right.
music anymore. Um, last time we played there, um, it was nice to I saw some friends who were running house venues and stuff when I was there 10 years ago, um, still running venues and DIY spaces there. So there's always like people holding down the fort. It's just kind of like who's ready to participate at any given time.
Hmm. Yeah, I love to see too that even whether it's on TikTok, kids getting excited about maybe seeing these smaller shows of some of the bands they
Right.
loved. And it's like, you can do that now. Find your local scene.
Yeah.
Like there are bands doing that. And whether it's a house show or I know around here they do like the Elks Lodges and the VFWs.
Yeah.
Go do that and experience that. You can be a part of that and like an up and coming band. Like, yeah, it's great to like reminisce about Blink-182 playing a small venue or My Chem or like back in Chicago, the Fireside Bowl. That's amazing. But
Right.
let's support our local scenes. It's out there.
And
You
you can,
sometimes have to find
yeah.
it.
The reason that those bands did anything is because people were coming to those shows until there were too many people to fit at those
Hmm.
shows.
Yeah, right. Like, and that's too, like, our podcast is the intersection of music and mental health. And
Right.
I think it's one of those things of there's such an intersection, I know, in my life of what music does for me and my mental health. And I know too, like doing a little bit of research with you, you taught yourself how to play guitar. And I think there's such a catharsis in that, right? Like a beautiful experience of picking up an instrument and learning how to play it. And just that moment of whether it's a pluck of a string or a chord you learn, how has music and your relationship with music helped aided your mental health?
Well, I um when I lived in Nashville, kind of post playing in hardcore bands and like that scene kind of dying out, um, I kind of just turned to drugs as an
Hmm.
alternative. And I was like a pretty hardcore, like opiate turned like heroin addict for maybe close to 5 years, like
Hmm.
20 to 25 in terms of age.
Yeah.
I was dealing with a lot of that. So obviously, I was in a really rough spot with all of that.
Right.
And um, I went to a treatment center in Nashville that was actually had an emphasis on music. Um, It's called Recovery Unplugged.
Hmm.
And at the time, I didn't care about music. I was too far gone into
Right.
my own stuff. And it really did have me revisiting a lot of music that I hadn't cared about just as a fan in years, and like reminding me of that part of myself that I think was really important and that I'd kind of become lost without. Um, and so I went into treatment in February 2020 and I got out in March and I was set up to move to a sober living in Asheville and I had never been there before. Um, and so I was like motivated at that point to start playing music again. And as much as I love hardcore music, I didn't feel like that is the direction I wanted to go. Um, and so moving to a new place and COVID happening, like COVID happened while I was in treatment. So I was kind of unaware through the very beginning of it of like what was going on. But I got out the day of the lockdown. So by the time I got out, you couldn't like go to a fast food restaurant, you couldn't do anything.
Right.
Um, and Guitar Center was open, luckily somehow. And I just bought like the cheapest acoustic guitar that I could find, and for about a year, I just played guitar like it was my job because
Hmm.
I was in this new place and I didn't know anybody, and I knew I wanted to make music again, and the only way I was going to do that is if I knew how to play guitar, um, because it did not like starting a band did not feel any kind of realistic anytime soon, given all of those circumstances combined.
Yeah.
Um, so it's huge. All that to say,
Hmm.
it's huge. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I'm really happy where I'm at. I met my band members through who is now my wife. So it everything is tied together in a way that playing music and just enjoying music has led me to.
Yeah. Oh, and again, I appreciate your honesty and being vulnerable about that too, because it's it's something a lot of people go through. And it's definitely during COVID, a lot of people that maybe it was whether it's opioids or whatever they're going through, struggling with addiction, COVID made it a lot harder, a lot more
It
difficult.
did.
And so many people don't talk about that. And, I've had friends that have gone through that as well. And just watching them was really difficult. So I can only imagine going through that. And then again, then we have something like COVID and that how amazing for you to then find music to help cope. And then also, look where you're at now with your band, because you took that step to start that instrument. I, I mean, again, you're one of my new favorite bands where I'm like, this is
Thank you
just
so much.
incredible. Like, it's so incredible to have this out there. And I think it'll be a little inspiring to people to like, yeah, maybe you were in a bad place before, but you never know where your life will lead you.
For sure. I mean, I just turned 30. I never planned on that.
Right,
I like, and you know, playing music to whatever degree was fully out the window, and now I'm
right.
doing it more than I ever thought I would have.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, it's amazing. I'm super grateful for every opportunity because my life could be way different, or I could like not be alive.
Yeah.
So you know, it's very special to get. to do this and spend time with a lot of people that I really care about and, you know, write these songs that people connect with.
Yeah, and that's like, I mean, we gotta again, like, yeah, now we gotta talk about this record. We have Blame It on the Weather that is out. It is, that's why I'm like, all right, I'm glad I have you now that it's been out and we can listen to this record. I love that it's a record. I get it. We are in a singles time. People love the singles. They want them. All the labels want that 15-minute or 15-second clip. You put it on TikTok. That's great. And I know that's how people find people.
Right.
But I'm a record person. I want a record that I can sit with, put it on and just listen to my headphones, listen to it out. What do I notice different? And that is this record. For you, now that it's out and we're all listening to it, you're getting feedback. What are you most proud of looking back while you were creating it and now it's out?
I think, um, first of all, thank you so much.
Yeah.
That means the world because that is one of those things of like we wanted to make, you know, a proper album,
Yeah.
and it seems to be received that way. Every time I post anything about like what's your favorite song, it's like
Mhm.
every song gets
Every.
listed. Um, and even today, I was looking at Spotify stuff, and like our number one song this week is the last song on the record, which is like that never happens, you know, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing is just like number one, the fact that people are seem to be like appreciating it the way that I was hoping they would, in the sense that the whole album means something to them.
Hmm.
And then kind of the understanding of what we were trying to do. Like it seems like we were trying to do something that was really easily picked up on by the listener. Just in terms of you know what inspirations we pulled from and like what the album is kind of about and a lot of that stuff kind of came out organically just from the people who were listening to it, um, which is super heartwarming because there's so much stuff out there in the world, uh, DIY music and otherwise, and just like the fact that people would sit with something that we made for 38 minutes is, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, to get anyone to sit down and commit, and like you said, the last song, having someone say, that means you listen through, that means you're listening to it. And I think that's you do. And like speaking of like how you've been talking about like hardcore music and influences, you hear it on this record. You can hear it. And I think that's what I like too, because I think there's a lot of pop punk bands. I love it too. I do. But
Yeah,
it's like, give me something a little different. And the minute I heard whether it was your vocals, and then I heard just the drumming aspect where I'm like,
right.
it's here. Like I can hear it there. And for me, as someone that grew up at my friends' hardcore shows, and that's like my first love ever, it's refreshing to hear this sound out there because there is such an oversaturation of music, which I love. I love music,
Yeah.
but I'm like, give me something that like grabs me to pull me into this. And that's what this band is doing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, Benji too, our drummer, is like a big time hardcore guy, and
Hmm.
he joined after the first record, and he's been on everything since the first record. But his he has a distinct drumming style, and
Hmm.
I think it does a lot for our band in terms of standing out.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean everything that I like musically has some kind of like hardcore or punk affiliation or background to it, even if it's not that. Usually, the music that I like that sits outside of that has that history, and I think when you have that, and that is kind of like your starting point, um, there's something that just never escapes you in terms of like the songs that you write
Hmm.
and it translates into whatever you're making, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, I feel like that'll always, for better or worse, just be a part of like the way that I write songs. Um, and yeah, that too, that showing through. I mean, I feel like the way that people have picked up on the like little tiny nuances of the record are so cool.
Yeah, like that has to be, and for me too, I'm such a opener. Like, what's the opener of your record? That's very important, like placements of that. And having a song like Sunsetting, I was like, this is sets the tone. You turn it on and just, I'm like, I can picture myself like sitting outside. I need to go sit outside and have this on.
Yeah.
This is what I need to do. And not necessarily when the sun's setting, because someone's going to give me crap over that. But like just sitting
Yeah.
outside, though, I need to sit outside and hear it and start that record. I think it's so important to have that. Like when you were putting the track list together for this record, was that something you guys were thinking of? Like, what song do we want to set the tone for this record?
Yeah, definitely. I would say I'm probably the biggest album sequence person in the
Hmm.
band. That's not to say that nobody else has an opinion.
Right.
But I kind of wrote Sun Setting as like in my mind, it would have existed like maybe in the middle of the record as kind of
Hmm.
like a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Um, but Justin, our guitarist, was like pretty adamant, like this is like a perfect opener. And I was a little bit on the fence, to be honest, just because uh, while now in retrospect, I feel like it perfectly sets the tone for the record, I
Hmm.
was worried that it was a little bit too far off from the rest of the record to
Hmm.
where like it would maybe give the wrong impression of what the record's going to be. And maybe it does, and maybe that's cool. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, I put a ton of thought into the sequencing of the record. Obviously, like I just said, with help from others.
Yeah.
Um, but that's just part of it. I think that that's like a huge part of making something that like feels cohesive and something you can just turn on and let play.
Yeah. Was there anything while creating this record that you learned about yourselves as a band that you're like, okay, I'm going to carry that what we learned here and what worked here for us to like the next chapter of Kerosene Heights. I mean, obviously enjoy this moment of this record. Don't get too far ahead,
Right.
but like, is there anything you learned that you're like, wow, like we really grew as a band here?
I think every experience does that on
Yeah.
at least a personal level. I feel like I'm constantly learning things about the members of my band. Um, but like we opened the floor to a lot more collaboration on this record, as opposed to earlier stuff. Was a lot of me like writing the rhythm guitar and drums and sending it out, or rhythm guitar and vocals and sending it out with like demo drums and all that. And we still do a bit of that, but this group of people, us four, the three other people in my band, are people that I've grown to feel like very comfortable with bringing looser ideas, and like opening the floor to like discussion about changing things in songs and just being more receptive to other people's ideas and contribution. Like I really wanted everybody to feel really good about everything that they did on the record outside of me just writing these songs and them throwing the essential other instruments on it, you know? So I feel like it definitely brought us all a lot closer. It was the first time that we'd gotten to spend any amount of real time in a studio. We recorded for 10 days in New York and it was freezing outside and the
Hmm.
studio was one room and we were sleeping in it. So we all just pretty much stayed in this room for 10 days together and kind of lost our minds together a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I do. I mean, East Coast winter, like there's nothing that in the
Mm,
Midwest. I'm like, there's nothing you definitely learn about yourself when you're in that situation. And I feel like it would probably force you again, like the room you're in. I mean, you could go outside, but still, who wants to? But it kind of forces you, I would guess, to really think outside the box and sit there and focus on what you're doing. Where maybe if you were somewhere else, like maybe, I don't know, if someone recorded in like in LA and no one to like not to dog that. I'm not dogging LA,
Yeah.
anybody listening or watching this, but
Yeah.
I don't need that. I don't need someone in the section. But I feel like there's like where you record is so special to the record when you complete it. And it sounds
Right.
like it was exactly that for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was in New York City, it was in Queens, but
Hmm.
it was kind of far out. And so we just stuck to the neighborhood and mainly just stayed in the studio the whole time. And I think we really all put all of ourselves into um, the whole project, Billy included, who produced and recorded it. Um, so yeah, Billy smashed a guitar over his own head because he was so excited about the record. So
Oh,
I think that kind of gives a where we were at towards the end there.
yeah, no, Billy Menino, like that's a name. I want to say it was the band Savings I had on here
Yeah,
last year. Wonderful band. And they were
yeah,
speaking so highly. And I remember looking into what Billy does, and you can hear it in what he does and what he's a part of and how much he cares. Obviously, I don't know
right.
him, but you can just hear that like Billy Menino sound where you're like, yeah, that's why he does what he does. And each release he has is so special. And obviously, this record it is just. I don't always like to flex or say like, all right, this is the album of the year. But this is up there where I'm like, what am I choosing for this year of, hey, this caused me to sit down. This is a really special record. This is something new and different that we don't necessarily hear a lot. And it just, yeah, it's just again, I can't emphasize it enough of people watching. It's not just because you're in the room with me, like my friend Rob have talked about this. This we could not stop talking about it because it just is that special of a record to me, and it's shining through everything you guys have worked on.
Yeah, it is it's been really crazy all the album of the year talk,
Yeah,
uh especially with how many good records in the genre have come out, I mean, like
yeah.
I I'm definitely online looking at what people are saying, and I'll see people on Reddit or whatever being like,
Hmm.
is the Kerosene Heights album the album of the year? And people being like, no, it's Arm's Length or Hot Mulligan. And I'm like, you know
Yeah,
what? Like,
yeah.
I'll be a part of that conversation. The fact
Sure.
that, like
Right.
the fact that anybody's asking this or thinking this or like attaching our name to that, whatever, I'm happy to just like, I'll take third place, I'll take 10th place, I'll take whatever, I don't care. But the the feedback has been resoundingly positive. I mean, even the people that say those things are still like, no, it's really good, but these are the ones or
Right.
whatever. And
Yeah.
um, so just to even exist in that universe of of these bands that I look at as really big, and they are. Is, it blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. What
But
a group to be lumped with. That's amazing.
yeah. But I think it just speaks to, people really putting their heart into stuff because I
Mhm.
believe that those bands do that, and I believe that we did that, and
Yeah.
that's why it's resonating.
Yeah, and one reason I think it resonated, at least with me, there's such a theme of like change and how we value change in our lives and like looking back and like being in my late 30s now. I mean, I look back too, like even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and where I'm at and, or where I thought I would be, but I'm not, and what things like that. And there's such a thing of, I think it's just a real thing we all look at and what we do with that. For you, do you think, obviously, pen to paper with some of these thoughts? And I never want to say, like, this is what the song's about. I think it's really cool if, like, for music to be like, just, hey, that's what I think. What you wrote about is probably completely different. For you, like
Mhm.
putting pen to paper and channeling some of these thoughts, do you think that that really helped close the chapter on some of those thoughts?
Definitely. Uh the whole album is definitely about transition and change of all sorts.
Yeah.
And just finding yourself in places that you wouldn't think you would have been. But I think for me, the track that specifically does what you're saying is Ghosts.
Hmm.
It's track 10. And for me, it's like pretty blatantly about like looking at all of the different versions of yourself that you have been throughout your life, good or bad, and just accepting where you're at now
Yeah.
versus that. That I think that's my favorite song on the
Yeah.
record, because I feel like I love when I can say what I want to say without using that many words, and I
Hmm.
think that that song does that pretty perfectly. Like, there's nothing that I would want to add to that, and it's one of the less verbose songs on the record. Um, and I think it comes through in the music on it as well. Um, but yeah, that song is that for me. Sunsetting is the same kind of like trying to be nostalgic, but that becoming like overshadowed by the bad stuff. Similar kind of, and how that like can kind of creep up on you still. Um, so yeah, I mean that's definitely a theme that comes up a lot in the record, but I think those two songs really kind of um, did that for me because when I write, it's always kind of stream of conscious. I'll adjust later, but I'll usually just sing over whatever demo I'm working on, and I would say like 95% of those lyrics are what end up on the record. I don't change that much, uh, but it's just like what comes out of my brain, and I kind of figure out what songs are about kind of halfway through. Um, it's definitely become a way that I've like processed whatever feelings I'm dealing with in that very moment. Like
Hmm.
there we have songs that first verse is like in the middle of an argument or a bad day or whatever, and
Hmm.
then the second verse kind of turns it around and like um is like a wider scope on the situation and like seeing multiple sides or just like examining the emotions from the first verse simply because I walked away from it and came back a couple days later or whatever, and I can kind of like look at it, look at whatever that song is about in a bigger scope.
Yeah. Oh, that's so, yeah, that's always interesting to hear because obviously, like I said, like I'm not a musician, but I can connect with songs. Like Ghost is one of my favorite ones, and it's one of those ones that right away I resonated with. And I think it's one of those things that's so special to hear how that came to be and that process for that and those emotions that now turned into my emotions when I listen to it and that catharsis of music. And I guess too, like talking about versions of yourself, what do you think the younger you would say about the version of you right now?
Ultimately, I think that every version of myself would be stoked
Yeah.
about where I'm at. Even the versions of myself that I don't like, I think would be stoked about where I'm at. Maybe like the 16-year-old version of myself would think that my band is like corny or soft or emo or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
uh, but all in all, like full package of what I'm getting to do with music right now and where my life at as a whole. Like I live in a cool place. I'm happily married. I have a couple dogs. Like and I get to play music like all the time with my best
Hmm.
friends. So like um there's no version of me that would be upset about that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, look where you're at now. Like I'm so excited to see what's ahead for this band. And obviously, like, okay, we have the record, we're listening to the record, but playing live has to give a different experience to these songs when you get to play them live because you have that experience when you're sitting down to create them. Now they're out for us. What is playing live going to be like some of these songs that you've created?
So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Um yeah, uh putting getting to play these songs live has been great. Seeing the way that people connect with New Tattoo is really awesome
Mhm.
because I feel like just an an unashamed love song with no like hopelessness or whatever is kind of rare. in this world of like music that we kind of exist in. Seeing people love that is awesome. I had this crazy experience. We recorded the record in January, and my birthday is January 31st. And we did like a string of shows basically on our way home from recording. And we played a sold out show in New York City where my dad lives. My dad's lived there most of my life. And it was the first birthday I got to spend with my dad in 20 years or something. I don't
Hmm.
know. And
Yeah.
we're cool. Like we've hung out a
Right.
lot. I spent all my summers up there as a kid, and like me and my dad are unbelievably tight, but just January birthday never
Right.
really were together on that day, especially into adulthood.
Yeah.
And so, we got to play this sold out show in New York. My dad was there, so many friends, old and new, from just like playing New York before or like from Side One Dummy, um, just like bands we've been on tour with before. And like young kids telling me that like our band got them through high school.
Hmm.
And we played Ghosts, which is about getting older essentially, on my 30th birthday there. And that was just like, I kind of had to like hold back tears. It was like
Yeah.
intense. It was like emotionally intense. And nobody knew the song yet, but just
Hmm.
for me, it felt crazy to, be doing that there on my 30th birthday with all these people around. And um, yeah, every song kind of takes me to wherever I was when I wrote it every time we play it. And sometimes that's awesome and sometimes it's not.
Hmm. Right.
But it's definitely worth it to see people like singing along and stuff, because I know that that song, whatever song it is, has, however many stories attached to it,
Hmm.
for however many people listen to it at whatever point in their life, and like whatever memories they attach to it, and like whatever feelings they associate with it. It all just, it's a lot of feeling.
Hmm. I
you
can
know
only imagine because I think about when I go see a band play and those emotions of like, oh, this is my favorite song, or this is like this moment of everybody singing, how somebody that wrote those songs that's up there getting to hear the people sing it back, or just maybe if you see someone else get a little like choked up or something, like I can just
yeah.
only imagine that. And I think that's such a special experience. And even you bringing up Side One Dummy, like, I mean, being with them, how has that relationship really helped you guys as well?
It's been awesome. It formed the exact opposite of kind of any other label relationship we had had. We were on No Sleep for our first record, which is a famously bad label, but
Yeah,
we kind of just like cannonballed into that because we had pretty much zero expectations for what this band would do. We were not very forward thinking, and we were just like, oh, vinyl, like cool.
sure.
Um, and so we had never talked to the owner of No Sleep ever. It was all email. And when we got in touch with Side One Dummy, um, they were really adamant about getting to know each other as people first, which was as much as I kind of wanted to rush into like getting this record made and like, signing contracts, just making stuff happen. Um, retrospectively, like it was really cool and sweet to like get to know them as people and then to get to know us. Like we had weekly meetings
Mhm.
about non-business things for 6 months leading up to any kind of like contractual anything. And that was just like super refreshing in terms of just like music business crap.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah,
I they signed us when we had 10,000 monthly listeners, and like we're just doing our thing as we've always done it, which is like rare these days.
right.
A lot of labels are looking for numbers and social
Hmm.
media followings, and
Yeah.
that's stuff's kind of grown over time, naturally, of course. But at the time that they agreed to work with us, it was just off of the demos that we had for the album. Um, and so yeah, we did a ton of talking and just getting to know each other for a long time. And then Phil, who works at Side One, came to Fest last year, and we hung out all weekend. And I couldn't be happier, honestly, like with that kind of label relationship, because so often it is like so businessy,
Hmm.
and like me and Phil just text about random stuff, and I feel like I genuinely like have a friend who has my back in all of this, which is all you can really ask for. We kind of made it um, a rule for ourselves at some point to only work with people who are really motivated to work with us,
Hmm.
and seem really excited about what we're doing. Because we learned kind of early on, you can have amazing accolades and have done things that we think are infinitely cool, but that doesn't necessarily translate into like what our relationship will be like. And that's how we landed with Billy too, and that's just how we've operated. And it's been very fruitful so far, at the very least on a personal level. But I think we've gotten really good things out of it, like such as this record.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's so important to have those people in the industry because even on my level of like with a podcast, you learn too. It's all about the numbers. There's some people
Right,
that won't even talk to me or give me the time of day, and it's one of
right,
those things of like, listen, I understand. Like, I get it. I get the game, but like, I don't want to play that. I want to find my people. And like, took a while, but by finding even my people on this end, it's like, those are the people I want to work with. Those are the agencies. I'm like,
exactly.
yes, you're my people. You get what I'm doing here. I get that. And I think as a band too, I think that's very important, those relationships. And I love to hear that Side One Dummies like that because just an iconic label, it's everything they do. It's you want to hear that. And it's not
It's the
always
best of
that
both
way.
worlds. Yeah, it's the best of both
Hmm.
worlds, where it's like this is the label that put out Title Fight and Jeff
Yeah.
Rosenstock and like so many important bands, but like
Hmm.
also I feel very much like um they took a risk on us because they liked the songs that I like recorded with Justin in
Yeah.
this room, like on my
Yeah.
laptop. And that's huge. A lot of labels won't do that. You either need the album or you need the social media following, and we had neither.
Right. Yeah.
So, I'm definitely grateful to them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just I love to hear that too. And obviously too, before I let you go, you have this tour starting up in November, running,
Right.
I think it's starting, trying to remember where it's starting. Oh, I know it ends in Chicago. I know that much. Um, but it is
I don't know either
uh,
of those,
yeah,
so
so
you're
I am
better
so
than me.
sorry, but we are there. Only because it's ending in my favorite venue ever in Chicago, the Bottom Lounge. So I'm like, yeah, sorry, I love that place. But and obviously with Trash, like how with that, we have this tour coming up. You get to get out. What is there anything else you're excited about this year? It's wild to think about. We're talking about the end of the year.
I know. Yeah, I'm really excited for everything that we're doing this year. Next month we're going to play in Ferndale, Michigan, and we're playing a reunion show for the band Empire Empire. I Was a Lonely Estate, and one of the first sports reunion shows,
Mhm.
which both of those bands are super important bands to us. We're literally making the 10-hour drive one way to just play that show because we love those bands. The Trash Tour will be our first time making it past like Nebraska, I think. I think
Mhm.
Nebraska is the farthest west we've ever gone. I'm terrible at geography, so
Oh,
maybe I'm
so am
wrong,
I.
but
Yeah, yeah,
something like that.
right.
Um, so that's really exciting. We've had people asking us to come out there for so like years at this
Yeah,
point, and it was always like too big of a risk. It's really hard to make that happen when you're
yeah.
doing it yourself. So I'm very stoked to get out there. I love the West Coast as just like a person who's been there, but I'm really excited to go there with the band. And the funny thing about you saying that Chicago's that venue is your favorite in Chicago is that like I've had so many people tell me that about different dates on this tour.
Oh, that's awesome.
Um, so I'm just stoked for most of it because every time someone's like, "Oh, you're playing whatever in Denver or
Yeah.
wherever," and and they're like, "That's my favorite spot there." So um, I'm just excited to be able to reach some new people and
Hmm.
um, it kind of feels like a step up, like a milestone in the band of like finally making it to the West Coast. Um, we're playing Fest right before that, it'll be our fourth Fest in a row, and that's always amazing. It's like a
Hmm.
family reunion every year because
Yeah.
all the bands that you saw out on tour that year and all the bands who are doing stuff are down there. So yeah, I mean, I'm very stoked to be at home mostly for the next 2 months. Um, because I also enjoy being at home, but there is a lot to look forward to with all the band stuff going on.
Yeah, and hopefully more to come. Again, like
Yeah.
this has been so great and I've said whatever we have to do to push out this record, whatever my podcast can do, Emo Kids Anonymous, whatever we can do to get this out there, I hope it does because it deserves it. It's such a great record. I really appreciate the time you took to come on here and I just love what you guys are all about and I'm excited to see what's going to happen with your band.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, this was like, I was so excited. I was like, all right, I am having the Monday of all Thursdays, but I don't care. I am excited about this. This is going down. So again, appreciate you.
I appreciate you asking me, and it was cool to do a podcast that kind of um, has a different angle on it. It
Mhm.
wasn't it. I've done a few podcasts now that all kind of blend together a bit, and I really like what you're doing.
Oh, I appreciate that. Again, a lot of
Yeah.
people in the beginning were like, no, you're too niche. You can't do that. You can't do like, watch me, listen, watch me.
Yeah.
We're gonna do this. I don't care what you say. So appreciate that
Yeah.
so much.